as we grow this partnership. It has been difficult, to be diplomatic, for the Japanese to engage a wider framework of engagement. This is rather new for the NRF, although we've had some experience with this. Doing this together brings a true opportunity for innovation in the normal scheme of instruments of many funding agencies working together. I'm therefore very pleased to announce this multidisciplinary program that is called AJ-CORE, and it stands for Africa-Japan Collaboration on Research. And again, Professor Diatine and Senegal has been very engaged both in the shaping and the conceptualization of this approach, also being the very first to offer their formal partnership to engage in this. As the two base agencies, NRF South Africa and JST Japan, we have conceptualized the funding framework for this process. And it is aimed to create an opportunity for not only these two countries, but the country of the 15 that participates in the Science Granting Council's initiative to participate. Longer term research, 3 years to start off with, to build new connections, to focus on cutting edge research, and find new ways to accelerate transitions to sustainable development. There's a number of SDGs, and this is a challenge-focused collaborative program. There's a number of SDGs that will be addressed within this approach. All of them will consolidate under the main theme of the program, which will focus exclusively on environmental science. I just need to reiterate that all of those marked there in some way or another adheres to a broad-based approach to environmental sciences. It is in the intent to address complex problems from various perspectives. There's an expected impact of research, and especially the likelihood of uptake of many of the research results. And finally, the research innovation projects with potential impact at national and regional scales will have an opportunity to be refunded, if you will, as we develop the scheme after the first 3 years. Eligibility criteria has been conceptualized very specifically is in that it is only multiple partners who can apply. So at least a Japanese partner, at least a South African partner, specifically at least a partner from one of the 15 SGCI countries. Applications will happen normally from the South African side through our system, through the Japanese side, and then we will come in negotiation with you what the application procedure would be for the third and more countries to participate then in the consortium. This call for opportunity will be launched by the end of November. We will take the liberty of sharing a confidential version of the call and the eligibility criteria with you before this goes public, with a closing date for applications by the end of March next year. Colleagues, we are very excited. This is not just a new scheme. This is innovative. For us, at least, this is the very first time that we will be SDG focused exclusively. The fact that this is multidisciplinary and problem focused and will truly focus on cutting edge research to take us further. I need to reiterate, Erica, I think you missed the first few comments, that this is very much in line with the examples and the frameworks that you have put. I also mentioned briefly a potential opportunity to enable many of our partner countries on the continent to participate in Belmont next year. And we see a very close alignment of this opportunity with the thematic areas that have been discussed, colleagues. So more detail to follow. It's really our excitement to share with you this opportunity. Thank you, facilitator.
Merci, Dr Aldo, pour votre présentation qui met en exergue l'importance des collaborations de recherche, et ce, à travers l'exemple de l'Afrique du Sud et du Japon. Ce cadre mis en place pourrait être effectivement une opportunité à saisir par les différents conseils, à l'instar du Sénégal. Sur ce, on va ouvrir la session des discussions, des échanges. Si quelqu'un a des observations, des questions, des suggestions à faire. S'il vous plaît, on peut avoir le micro. OK. Pour le Sénégal.
Merci beaucoup, Annette. Merci beaucoup, Aldo, pour cette belle présentation. Et je voudrais vraiment me réjouir de ce projet, de cet important projet. Pour nous, en tout cas au niveau du Sénégal, et je pense que ce sera la même chose pour les autres EJCI qui vont nous rejoindre. Et il me plaît de faire un peu d'historique de ce projet, parce qu'il y a une partie de l'historique qui a été relatée par Aldo, mais je voulais remonter plus tôt pour dire que, pour marquer l'importance du networking dans ces cadres-là et l'importance du multipartenariat. Pourquoi je le dis? C'est dommage, Marcos n'est pas là, mais tout est parti d'une invitation de la DFJ à un panel organisé en marge du Next Ancient Forum de Kigali. Donc le Sénégal y était, on avait un stand et tout. Et moi, j'étais invitée à participer à ce panel qui était co-organisé, je pense, avec NRF. Et je pense que c'était en ma qualité de EJCI aussi, et de l'implication du Sénégal dans ce forum qu'on nous avait invité. Et j'étais dans le panel et j'avais parlé de beaucoup de nos projets du Sénégal, de la nouvelle vision, parce que notre ministre était intervenant lors de la conférence de l'inauguration. Et là, à la pause café, donc la délégation japonaise m'avait approché, on était ensemble, on prenait le thé et les discussions sont parties de là. Et ils ont émis leur idée vraiment de travailler, d'appliquer leur projet de travail avec l'Afrique à partir d'un atelier qu'ils organiseraient en Afrique, et ils voulaient voir est-ce qu'on accepterait d'abriter cette organisation. Et là, j'ai pris note. Dès mon retour, donc j'ai fait le rapport adressé au ministre et qui a sauté sur l'occasion, disent qu'ils sont d'accord. Et là, les Japonais ont été reçus en audience, ils ont exposé, on a eu plusieurs séances de travail. Donc c'est parti comme ça. Et tous les pays étaient invités, il y en a qui étaient là, donc je salue leur présence et leur participation. Il y avait la Mozambique, le Burkina, entre autres, beaucoup de pays africains étaient là. Pour vous dire que vraiment c'est important, ça part d'une petite manifestation, d'une petite occasion, et ça peut rapporter vraiment gros. Et je pense que ça va rapporter gros dans ce cadre-là. Merci beaucoup encore une fois. Merci au NRF aussi qui l'a porté, parce que là, il faut aussi un portage voilà, donc, équivalent à l'ampleur de la GST. Donc la GST est une grosse boîte, donc je pense qu'en Afrique aussi, c'est bon qu'on ait une grosse organisation qui sera à la hauteur pour pouvoir représenter dignement l'Afrique dans ce partenariat. Merci.
Merci, professeur Soukey. Quelqu'un d'autre a une intervention, une question, une contribution? Je pense que moi, j'aurais une question à poser. Ah, avant moi, on va passer la parole au docteur Koubela.
Merci, madame. As I think Professor Suke is saying, sometimes things start small and they get bigger and bigger. I'm just looking around. There were some of us who were in Yokohama earlier this year, and Yokohama was TCAD, what, 6 or 7? 7. And one of the side meetings of TCAD 7 was a meeting between Japan and the African Ministers of Science. So this was presented, and I have a vivid recollection of the Minister of Rwanda, of Uganda. In fact, the Minister of Uganda was right in front of me. Right next door was the Minister of Zimbabwe. And all of them were saying, can you people guarantee that our countries will be involved? And we said, ministers, we work through and only through our own partners, the granting councils in our countries. That's why it came through the SGCI. So it is here, in part, to be able to say it is our initiative as a collective, started by one of us, to the benefit of all, and our hope is that we will be able to show our public office bearers that we are able to start something, deliver it, and then when they ask what are the benefits, we will be able to show, so that in turn they can continuously motivate and advocate for the work that we do. Merci beaucoup, madame.
Merci, Dr Kobela. Y a-t-il d'autres interventions, d'autres questions? Dr Aldo, je souhaiterais savoir comment nos conseils subventionnaires peuvent-ils intégrer ce partenariat? S'il y a parmi nous des personnes qui sont intéressées, quelle procédure il faudrait suivre pour cela?
Madam, thank you. Colleagues, the mechanism will work as follows. We will pre-share the information with you confidentially, and then this will be launched by the end of November. Included in these documents are, of course, much more details of how to participate. There will be a specific contact person at the NRF that we will share with you to speak about the modalities of that engagement. I don't want to oversimplify this, but it will rely very heavily on your initiative to promote this opportunity within your funding research ecosystem in your countries. The other modality would be the onus and expectation from the Japanese researchers and the South African researchers to also reach out and entice those to apply. The specific funding modalities I don't want to get into now. Suffice to say that this is very, very healthy funding per project per year to specifically enable the level and the depth and the competitiveness of the research programs that has been shown there. But obviously through your own mechanism that contribution will be necessary. There is an option for in-kind contribution as a collaborative, but those modalities and the details of that, Madame, will be shared.
Ok, merci, Dr Aldo. Y a-t-il d'autres observations, d'autres questions? Bon, je pourrais dire non. Ok, merci à vous, Dr Aldo, pour cette présentation. Nous sommes donc à la fin de cette session. Je voudrais d'abord remercier tous les communicateurs, M. Mike Bright, Dr Eric Ake et Dr Aldo, pour leur incitation à participer activement aux différents mécanismes de financement qui existent au niveau du GRC. Il est vraiment intéressant et opportun pour chacun de nos conseils de pouvoir mettre en relation nos différents chercheurs afin d'aboutir à des résultats de recherche qui peuvent aider au développement de nos pays et de l'Afrique en général. Merci à tous et j'invite le prochain modérateur pour la session suivante.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Angelique Philander from the National Commission on Research, Science and Technology in Namibia. I will facilitate this session. This session is about the consolidation of the African Regional Meeting inputs for the GRC International Steering Committee. I urge you to please work with the presenters, because we will receive a summary of all the feedback, deliberations, the discussions that we had, and we will reach a consensus on that. Dr. Melody Mens from the University of Pretoria, South Africa, will give us that summary. Then we will look at the co-hosting and participation in the GRC 2020, the annual meeting. Dr. Malapo Kobela from the GRC governing body will do that, and then we will do the closing remarks, first from our host, Tanzania, and then from Dr. Matutu from the National Research Foundation in South Africa. So I please urge you to have a look at these, the summary that we will receive now, to ensure that your feedback is incorporated, not just for the International Steering Committee, but as well as for us as science granting councils, so that we can apply it and use it in our context, in our countries, in our respective institutions. And if you have input that were not captured, please liaise with Dr. Melody Mens afterwards, as well as all the presenters have indicated during the day. You can also send it then directly to them to enrich their documents and reports that they need to develop. So without any ado, kindly please assist me with an applause for Dr. Melody Mens.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's been an engaging and an interactive morning of rich, interesting discussions, which is fantastic, of course, for the discussion paper, but you made my job difficult to do. With many great inputs, it always becomes more difficult to really capture the richness. So I'm going to put forth my thoughts, and as the Chair has encouraged us, let's engage afterwards and see what would we like to add, clarify, and how do we really come to a position which we can stand up and say, this is what we want to put forth to the global meeting. So I want to start out by pointing out some of the links. It's not showing yet. I shall wait until it does. Yeah. And we're back. So I want to start out pointing out some of the linkages that we have been discussing today. We've discussed the interplay and the synergies between mission-oriented research and public engagement, as has been presented in the two papers today. But we've also talked about the linkage between these two themes and the theme we were discussing in 2018. And this relates to the expectations of or for social and economic impact of research. Mission-oriented research focuses on solving big challenges in society. At its core, it is seeking to catalyze transformative change and impact. Truly transformative change, arguably, cannot be catalyzed without an engaged approach with the multiple publics with whom we've been talking about today. This public engagement, of course, is not only about communicating science to multiple publics, but also about embedding an ongoing engagement into our research processes, our funding processes, essentially all of our processes in their entirety. So I wanted to frame the comments and the summaries around each specific paper just within these linkages that we've talked about. In terms of mission-oriented research, we are in agreement that we are facing grand challenges, the so-called wicked problems that transcend boundaries of all type, whether they be boundaries of discipline, boundaries of geography, etc. These challenges are also interrelated to each other in complicated ways and in a constant state of flux. So we have heard today from the floor a strong sense of support for mission-orientated approaches because they can help us to address these types of challenges, interrelated challenges, and challenges that are in flux. But they do present us with a different type of challenge as well. And this is the challenge for us in our respective innovation systems to work together across our own boundaries of geography, of language, of discipline, and of sector. We haven't mastered that yet. We're learning as we're going, but we don't have quick fixes. Although the challenges that we're trying to address spectre of geography, the reality is that funding agencies and councils remain responsible within their countries to address national mandates and priorities, and to leverage mission-orientated approaches to achieve transformation at a national level. We thus need to consider the ways in which we can be globally relevant and contribute to addressing global challenges whilst maintaining a concentrated focus on national priorities. Whilst these two are distinct, they're not necessarily in contradiction. We've heard today support for the fact that the SDGs do provide a useful, although not perfect or comprehensive framework within which we can think about mission-oriented research. On a positive note, there are already many linkages between the SDGs, continental agendas, regional agendas, and national agendas. And this gives us points of entry. On another positive note, it means that while we're addressing issues of national priority, the cumulative effects of all of these across different geographies can make important contributions to addressing grand challenges at the SDG and the global level. But we have also heard today that there is a space for mission-orientated research to move beyond the SDGs. And we've acknowledged together that mission-orientated research does not exclude aspects of curiosity-driven research. It brings to us many opportunities for collaborative approaches, and we have certainly heard strong support from the floor for multilateral approaches and collaboration, and particularly for these types of collaboration at the points of intersection across national agendas. These collaborations can help funding agencies and councils to leverage resources from multiple stakeholders, which again brings an opportunity to increase the scope and the scale of what can be achieved. We have heard the example that centers of excellence are one of the mechanisms which we already have in place, which we can leverage to further promote mission-orientated research that's focused on the SDGs, because in several ways these centers have already grappled with some of the challenges around transcending discipline and transcending geography. The GRC has several important roles to play. In the first instance, forums such as this help to foster a common understanding and common approaches to mission-orientated research. They help us to develop a collective voice and a common position from which we can influence decision makers. It creates a space for building capacities and finding joint solutions on how to approach mission-orientated research. And as we have heard, provides a space for us to identify and begin conversations with potential collaborators. I want to end my comments on mission-orientated research by saying that we must also understand the impact that we are having when we're taking these approaches. It's not enough for us just to take this approach. We must understand the change that we are bringing about. This will further help us to influence decision makers across sectors. It will enable us to be able to respond with evidence-based approaches in times of crisis. But in order for us to be able to do this, we must engage effectively with multiple publics. And it's at this point that I want to transition into my comments around the paper on public engagement. So certainly, as we have noted, there is a desire for science to have a tangible impact and bring about outcomes that lead to a better life for all. But this is in tension in some ways with levels of trust in science amongst the varied publics that we have spoken about today. Public engagement, and I would say effective public engagement, is therefore fundamental to achieving our ambitious notions of mission-orientated research. One of the primary goals we are trying to achieve through engagement is to strengthen ongoing relationships between councils and multiple publics, so that we can build trust and so that we can build long-term relationships that lead us to a mutual benefit. If we accept, as we have today, that there are multiple publics with whom we must engage, it becomes necessary for us to adopt multi-layered, targeted, but also coordinated approaches to engaging these publics. We've spoken a lot about the fact that it's not only how we engage publics, but at which points and when we engage. The notion of co-created research agendas, co-designed priorities, and also co-created specific projects requires from us to engage early, and as we have heard mentioned several times, not only to engage at the end of a research process. through ongoing engagement, we can demonstrate impact. And through the combination of ongoing engagement and impact, we can help to create a virtuous cycle that brings additional resources, helps us demonstrate accountability, builds trust, and in turn, leverages further impact. We've heard several examples today of how councils are already engaging. We've heard examples that transcend multiple publics. So we haven't only heard one kind of example repeated, but we have these diverse examples that we've been talking about, which we would be able to categorize, explore more deeply, and already start to describe more clearly the great work that we have already been doing in engaging the publics. The challenge that stands before us today is to integrate these approaches and to embed them into our processes so that it becomes a way of being and doing rather than an anecdotal approach. There certainly is no easy way forward, but we've heard today and we've spoken about several opportunities for mutual learning. Public agencies are well positioned to mediate several conversations between multiple publics. But we first need to define who these publics are, and then we need to adopt targeted and appropriate approaches to engage with these varied publics. Councils need the capacities and they need the resources to do this. And this is one of the ways where the GRC can play an important role. We need common sets of principles and guidelines for engaging with a range of publics. GRC is a space where these guidelines and good practices can be discussed and deliberated and also shared so that they can be contextualized appropriately to funding agencies. And I think the last point is a repetition. It's an opportunity for us to share our examples, talk about our approaches, and see how we can adopt them in our own contexts. And with that, I give back over to the chair to facilitate the conversation with you on this summary further.
Thank you very much, Dr. Melody Mens-Gertse, for that comprehensive summary that you've provided to us. I now give over for any questions, clarity, any further suggestions, comments. Anyone?
Melody, firstly from my side, thank you very much. I think you have captured it so well. But colleagues, let's be very frank. You are the Hawks representing the Africa region. This is at best a first take of the aspects that we have discussed. We will need your insight and feedback to agree whether this captures your discussions, number one. Number two, whether you think there are other aspects that should have been discussed that have been missed. And number three, as per usual GRC business process, this of course will be transcribed into a more comprehensive report that will be this region's formal input into the GRC process for the eventual development of statement of principles, actions, and then for endorsement by all the councils next year. So if you are content with the completeness of this, you must also say so. But this is the opportunity to take this further. And Madam Facilitator, I'm sorry for intervening on your space, but this is an important part. It needn't be prolonged, but we must make sure from you as the Africa Hawks that this is what we have discussed. And I see that there's a hand.
Thank you. I was just wondering where the, I think Dr. Malapu talked about humanities, social sciences. Where does it come in? Because for me, I think it's very important. Like in my country now, it's something that we need, evidence-based research in humanities. Because if you talk about science, we can say, yes, we need power, energy, agriculture. But for now, we're in deep need of research regarding national security, national integration. These are core issues within our community. And as Africans, we're always very passionate about our culture, religion, ethnicity. We have issues of politics. So for us to get to the root of those issues, when we talk of mission-oriented approach and public engagement, I think they feed into each other. What are this mission? Who defines the mission? I think it's the public that should define the mission. So, and these humanities or social sciences are the middle point here. That is where they come in. So I think we need to pay a little bit of more attention to them. How do we bring them in? And like he said, how do we define them? We don't define them as sciences. They are also as important as physical and natural sciences. Thank you.
Any other questions or clarity or comments before I ask Dr. Menscherzer to respond to anything from the science granting councils, or should I rather go council by council, because as Dr. Schruber has said that we need to reach consensus and make sure that all our comments and summary is in the summary as well. So we need to also say we agree or we don't agree with what was given. South Africa.
Chair, you need to congratulate those people in the room. It's Friday afternoon on a 3 o'clock and people are still engaged. From my point of view, and I don't know about the others, I'm generally very happy with the way in which the issues have been captured, and I don't want to speak on behalf of my colleagues, but I personally am happy. The one thing that we need to, and maybe it's implicit, often there is a misconstruing where you take an idea like mission-orientated and then you present it almost as if it is applied research. They're not the same. And we've got to make sure we don't fall into that trap. And I think we have captured it well, but somehow we've got to make sure that we are not as a collective sending an implicit message that we understand mission orientated as if it is applied. In part because there's a lot of pressure on our continent to do research that has immediate and short-term returns. And the concept of mission is not necessarily about that. It is about a mission that can be even way bigger than responding to a short-term challenge. So I'm just asking that we keep that at the back of our mind, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insight. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you very much.
I apologize for being late and missing the first part. So what I'm saying relates to the part I had to the end. I do not have any problems with the mission-oriented research, the part I had. And then on public engagement, I particularly like the part that refers to my contribution in discussion, that we are looking to the GRC for guidelines, for SOPs in this area for us to have a systematic and possibly somewhat standardized or at least public engagement to known levels of engagement. So I quite endorse what I had. I thank you.
First done Tanzania, and then we'll give to Malawi.
Yes, since the document will be sent to us for more input if need be, then getting a consensus here, we can say yes or no, but the door is not closed yet. Yeah, and if we have reservations, we can put into the writings and then send it back. So far, so good for Tanzania.
Malawi.
This is it. Chair, I don't want to waste your time, but to say that I propose that we endorse what has been captured. In fact, I'm convinced the person who has been capturing this is studying for school and exams. Did a good job. They did a good job. It's a good job. Thank you.
In Mozambique.
Thank you. I would also like to endorse on what was presented here. And I think that everything is a learning process for most of us. Under public engagements, some of us have already started some activities that could be shared among us, and it can be very useful. We'll add about the COSTEC that work with the journalists and others. So it was very well captured, and I think that we could use better the lessons learned from the other councils. Thank you.
Thank you. I will allow Dr. Menshetze then now to just respond to a few questions and comments.
That's if she doesn't trip on the way down. Thank you for your comments, colleagues. I think just to keep the comments from my side very short, we will of course work at integrating each of these into the written paper, which we will distribute. Quick comments from my side around the humanities. I think it's important for us to say not only that we're working in a transdisciplinary approach, but that we're looking to really take the strengths of each discipline and use them to solve a problem that is transcending the disciplines. And then also on the relationship or the possible conflation between mission-orientated and applied research. I think certainly we want to show what are some of the ways that mission-orientated can be reach impact, but also in the paper maybe to point out what we still see as the key differences between those approaches. So thank you very much for your engagement, and we look forward to receiving your written comments down the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Menshertz. I urge all the science granting councils, because we received these questions also in advance, so we might have formulated some answers to the questions that we couldn't answer today because of the time span, that we also just send those so that the report can be enriched in that way. Then I'll take you to the next item, which is the co-hosting and participation in the GRC 2020 annual meeting. And I give over to Dr. Molapo Kobela from the GRC governing body.
Colleagues, a round of applause for our moderator. Standing here is not an easy thing. It's, like I said, it's late in the afternoon. I've literally got 2 minutes to say a few words about next year. The next Global Research Council's annual meeting will be in Durban, South Africa, 26 to 28 May 2020. 26 to 28 May 2020. While the meeting will be hosted by the National Research Foundation of South Africa and the United Kingdom's Research and Innovation, we expect, from our point of view, particularly as NRF, that this is an African hosting. It is an SGCI hosting. We have been walking the road together for many, many years. And it's important that when we host, whether at a regional meeting or at an annual meeting, we are there to, in essence, not just support each other, but to be actively engaged in the meeting. So we are hopeful that you would allow us, the co-hosts, to knock on your door, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, Rwanda, who may not be here but are here in spirit, Uganda, and many others, to discuss with you the potential role that you will play. And our roles will vary clearly, but it is important for us to play that role. The topics, as you already know, which we have been in discussion with today, is public engagement and mission-oriented research. And what we have been doing here is to prepare for the substantive discussion that will happen in May next year. It is quite possible that coming out of those discussions will be statement of principles. It is possible. It is not a guarantee that there will be a statement that will come out of these two discussion papers. But the inclusive and participatory program is anticipated to include side events. For those who have attended GRC meetings, you will always find that there were side events. This year in Sao Paulo, again, UKRI and the NRF co-hosted a side event on mission-orientated. In fact, it was on the SDGs. And in many ways, that's how this idea of a focus on 2020 on mission-oriented began to get brewed. And so we're looking for side events that will also be open to non-GRC participants. We want to try and be innovative. It might be an opportunity for us to might even include people who are the publics that we talk about in science engagement. It allows us to obviously showcase innovation at regional and global initiatives that advance the GRC working groups, as well as further discussions and foresight in networks, collaboration, and projects that are regional. Like I said earlier, colleagues, it really is about us putting our best foot forward so that we are never seen as a region of being parochial and only talking about what is in Africa, but it is also how Africa can contribute to the advancement of knowledge globally. Colleagues, I look forward to seeing all of you in Durban 2020, 26th to 28th of May 2020. Thank you. Chairperson, before I am allowed to step off, there are a number of us that have been on this road since the beginning. I think Nasser, you said that the SGCI idea formally got off in 2015. But the idea started before then. And there are those of us in this room who have been part of this idea from inception. And we are privileged to be able to say a big thank you to them, because they've set a tone. They have been in every single meeting, every single day of every meeting since we started. And that shows commitment. They have developed relationships with almost every single member of the SGCI. And really, I think you would allow me, on behalf of all the heads that are here and not physically here, to be able to thank Dr. Alfred J. Sumani, the Executive Director for the National Council for Science and Technology of Zambia, to say a big thank you to him and to ask him to come over. Alfred, if you can come over to receive a token of our appreciation. It's our appreciation. He has opened the first Elders Club of the SGCI.
Thank you very much. The danger I have is Tanzanian customs. It's not easy to say goodbye. It's been a long journey. But really, it's not really goodbye per se, because I'm sure we'll be meeting in other fora where we'll be having time to reflect on these things. And I must say, I'm also an active science practitioner, so I know that I'll be meeting some of you in our disciplines, so to speak, as opposed to the issues of policy that we articulate in SGCI and GRC. Otherwise, it has been a wonderful journey, very enriching, and I assure you of Zambia's continued support. Zambia will continue participating actively. I'm sure my successor will pick up the mantle from where I've left off. Otherwise, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kabela, and thank you for Dr. Alfred for his continued support that he pledged, as well as for the hard work and the dedicated commitment to the SGC that we've given. We will move forward with the flag. Those of us who are, like the professor the other day said in the meeting, only joining the Premier League now, we will try to follow in your footsteps and carry the flag forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the closing remarks of the meeting of today. Therefore, I would like to give over to Dr. Amos Ngungu from the COSTECH Tanzania to say a few remarks.
Hello, good evening. I know the discussion was lively, so I wouldn't ask how lively was it because I have been involved, but I trust the food was good. I'm glad that I can attest to my minister that the meeting was fruitful and everybody went home with good memories. And I will say today that the preparation for the 2020 GRC also was a success. But since this event was co-hosted, but also was joined with the other events, I've been speaking a lot, so I'm just saying thank you. And our co-hosting partner could say on behalf of everyone, but the good thing is, thank you for participating, thank you for coming, and as Marapo said, I hope I will see everyone here in South Africa. Asanteni, karibuni sana.
On behalf of all the SGCs, I would like to say thank you very much to Tanzania for hosting us in this beautiful city. Before we leave, we will make sure that we leave a few US dollars in your beautiful city. To end today's session, as well as today's meeting, I give over to Dr. Matutu from the National Research Foundation, South Africa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mine is just to acknowledge all the participating countries in today's GRC Africa Regional Meeting. And throughout the week, it has been an engaging and a stimulating week, certainly. And this year we've experienced the largest participation, or the largest representation from 16 countries in the continent altogether. And that is a first since the first regional meetings were held in 2014. Our greatest appreciation is also extended to the conceptualization, organizing teams for their leadership, their insight, their flair, their facilitation. The SGCI Initiative Management Team. From the IDRC, I would like to mention Ann Weston, Ellie, Diakalia, Lois, and from the National Research Foundation, Dorothy. From ATPS, Dr. Nicholas Ozo and the ATPS team. Our partners that hosted value-adding initiatives alongside the forum, it has been very busy. The IRDFF, the DFID, the ACTS, Carnegie Corporation of New York, and the University of Pretoria. From COSTEC, the leadership of Dr. Bakari Msangi, who retired in October 2019, Professor Mohamed Sheikh, Ms. Nima Tindamanyire, Dr. Helda Gideon, and the COSTEC team. From the National Research Foundation, let me acknowledge Puleng, Titlo, Kathy Potgieter, and the rest of the NRF team. Colleagues, you will agree with me that the program has been so rich. The participation has been so broad. The African countries have participated in facilitation, in making inputs. And it is clear that we are owning the initiative. And in that sense, the organizing team has done an excellent job. We've been kept very, very comfortable. We know that from the food, transportation, alternative arrangements, when our airline, South African Airways, decided to have its own strike. So the organizing team has made all of this possible for us. The program has been very rich in that there has been a proper mention of the interconnectedness between the titles that we've had, inclusivity, issues of engaged science, mission-oriented research. All these areas are interconnected. And all of these have added to the richness. And open science, without open science, we can't talk about public engagement. We can't talk about impactful research. So all these topics that they have decided to put together for the entire program, feeding into today's program, that has been wonderful. I would like to thank the GRC leadership, specifically Michael Bright, the GRC Executive Secretary, members of the Executive Support Group, members of the Governing Board. We can see that we are led in both the rest of the globe and also within the continent. It is quite impressive that we have the kind of members in all these structures, from the board to the support group, and to have Michael as well here. The authors and the presenters of the papers, they were excellent. Dr. Maharaj, thank you very much for making time to come here. Dr. Sarah Plowman, thank you very much for making the time to come here. She's left now. And the consolidated input, I agree with the people who were saying that it's as if there was an exam. That was wonderful, Dr. Menskutsi. Thank you very much for the consolidated input. You made it so coherent, you made it so professional, and you clearly communicated every aspect of what we contributed during the morning. Finally, I would like to thank the magnificent leadership of our partnership with Dr. Amos Nungu, COSTECH, and the country of Tanzania for hosting us this week. As you can see, we just don't know how to thank you enough. You are so hospitable. It has been wonderful. And the fact that it was spread over so many countries, it enabled us to rest and to work and to eat and to entertain ourselves. And so it was really wonderful. So we are so grateful also to your board and the country at large. And for us, this country has got historical connotations. It's very difficult for us to think Tanzania without thinking freedom. For us, it really has got that aspect, which is saying that we wouldn't be where we are without this country. So on that note, I would like to hand over a small gift on behalf of all of us to express our gratitude to Dr. Amos Nungu. Thank you, colleagues, and travel well.
It's just a final word. Firstly, can we thank Dr. Matutu for her excellent summary. The day is not finished, unfortunately, for some of you in this room, so just stay strong. I want to say thank you very much from a GRC perspective for your most excellent participation and the insight. It has truly been a very wonderful week and experience, concluding on this high note of today. So there's a tea time ready now, and then we ask the Hawks and their principal representatives to reconvene in this room at 10 to 4, please. We will make a smaller area available for you to work, and let's agree on this area. There'll be a small presentation. Colleagues, this is a closed meeting, so we do ask you also to take your belongings with you when you leave, but also to wish you well on your travels and whenever you travel. Number one, please ensure your transfer times at the registration desk, so all the detail will be there. And there is dinner tonight at the restaurant as from 18:30. That's another announcement. If there's anything, please ask the support team, but if we can please ask the Hawks to reconvene then at 10 to 4. Thank you for everything.